Hey, welcome to my channel. My name is Balasabas. I'm glad you found my YouTube channel. This video is a little bit different than my usual tutorial type videos here on my YouTube channel. This is actually an interview. This is from my podcast, which if you haven't found my podcast yet, I'll put a link somewhere in the description. But it's called Coffee with Content Creators. It's on Spotify and Apple and all the different popular podcasting platforms. But I thought that I would share some of my interviews and my conversations from my podcast here on my YouTube channel as well. And so I hope you enjoyed this conversation with my friend Andrew Kavanagh. Just a few words about Andrew. We're gonna get back to my email list here in just a second. But Andrew is a friend of mine. He's a fellow Adobe Express ambassador. We were actually in the same place in Los Angeles at the Adobe Max conference just a couple months ago, but we didn't actually get to hang out. It's a massive conference, and so we decided to catch up by hopping on my podcast and doing an interview. And so Andrew has been in the industry for quite some time now. He's got his own community. He helps people with Adobe Express and Photoshop and a bunch of other Adobe platforms and products. And he's got, the Photoshop and Lightroom courses, and he also helps people with that as well. He's based in LA and just an awesome guy. And so I had a really good conversation with him about community and building community for his business, and also just for the passion that he has for creative design. And so I hope you enjoyed this interview. But before we head into that interview, I wanted to just share with you guys an invite to a couple places. First is my email list. All right, we're gonna get to my email list here. I've got an email list where I just send usually about a weekly email, just really short weekly email, about a minute or 2 minutes to read, and just some resources around the creator economy, content, events, and other helpful resources to help you grow your content business. Also, want to invite you to our membership. So this is where our community hangs out in a private Discord. There's also members-only live streams and Q&A sessions, all the on-demand content that you can really handle, and just some different creator discounts as well for different platforms and things. And so it's really, really cool. It's only, I believe, $10 a month, but there's a 5-day free trial. So make sure you join us over there. That outside of, YouTube and the podcast, this is really where I'm hanging out with my community on a daily basis. And so we do 2 Q&A sessions every week. As of right now, that's what we're doing. And so we'd love for you to join. All right. So that's all the housekeeping for now. Let's get into this conversation with Andrew Kavanagh. All right. Take care. Hey, Andrew. Good to have you on the podcast, man. How are you doing?
Good. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. It's good to have somebody in the same time zone. Makes it a lot easier for scheduling and everything. So, I know you're in the LA area, and really good to have you here. We were in the same place, but we never actually met up at the Adobe Max event, which is unfortunate, but hopefully next
Frustrating, yeah.
year.
Yeah, it's busy. Three days
Yeah,
burst of events to do
yeah.
and people to meet. Is yeah.
So much
A few people
happening.
I wanted to meet that I just didn't have time for, or didn't bump into them. So
Yeah, it's a big event. It's a big event, but hopefully next year. But I'm glad that we're finally catching up on the podcast here. Before we dive in, I definitely have some things I want to ask you and get your thoughts on. But
cool.
why don't you just take a minute and just introduce yourself, kind of what you do, a little bit about your content, the business behind the scenes.
Excellent. So I'm a digital artist. So I create in Photoshop, photo montage type work,
Mm-hmm.
and I originally went to school for fine arts. I was a fine artist, focusing on printmaking was my major. And then I basically tried to get work in New York City as an artist assistant, and work for galleries, and realized how competitive that is, and how you had to keep writing for to get funding for different shows and stuff. So I was like, what is computer graphics in the early 90s, and took some classes at School of Visual Arts and fell in love with Photoshop. Bought the Deke McClellan's Photoshop Bible, got pretty good at it, built up my portfolio, got in the door. And so I do Photoshop retouching, photo compositing, Photoshop tutoring, Photoshop and Lightroom tutoring, and I now do digital art as well. And then I run various groups on Facebook as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been in the, let's see, I was an Adobe user group manager for about 14 years,
Wow.
and then recently became an Adobe community expert.
Nice.
And I'm also an Adobe Express ambassador.
Nice, nice. You're very
Adobe.
yeah, there it is. Yeah, if you guys are listening to the audio version, Andrew has this massive Adobe shirt that he's pointing
Adobe
at.
Adobe to infinity type of
Yeah, I
design.
love that. I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, it's my first time at the Adobe Max event, and recently was invited to become an Adobe ambassador, or sorry, Adobe Express ambassador, and
Great.
just had a blast. It's just such an amazing community. It's just like my people. It's like so cool to just be
Absolutely.
there. Just all creatives and creators, and it was
Yep.
just really cool. And Adobe is a great group to be around. Absolutely. So awesome. Well, yeah. I mean, this podcast, Andrew, is like really all about, and this is like all about revenue and like the business behind the scenes. So kind of take us a little bit behind, not behind, the tutorials and stuff is awesome, but like, what is the business behind the scenes? How have you, what kind of like revenue streams have you created from the craft?
Sure. Right. So yeah, I'm a big believer of, multiple streams.
Of
And
course.
so I balance, Photoshop and Lightroom tutoring with, nowadays, because of the pandemic, a lot of work from home
Mm-hmm.
type of retouching and compositing work that is sent to me. And then I do run these groups on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
and the Photoshop and Lightroom group is about 308. Now, I think it just passed 309,000 members.
Wow.
Um, and I do try to utilize the groups to do some promotions for affiliates.
Mm.
So I have affiliates that are related to the Photoshop and photography industry.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be anything from promoting books to courses, online courses, to plugins, presets,
Wow.
things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. So that's the main. Like almost affiliates is one from what I hear there. So affiliate revenue. Um,
So
yeah, tutoring
tutoring, Photoshop, retouching and compositing,
as a
and
service.
affiliates. So those three sources are my main. Yep.
Main, awesome, awesome. Sounds good. How have you found the creator economy? Like, how have you found it going, as over the years? Because you've been in this before it was even called the creator economy,
Right.
before that term was even coined. Um, how are you seeing it now versus maybe 5, maybe even 10 years ago
That's
as
a
a
good question.
creator to make money from, what you're doing?
Yeah, it's a bit frustrating now because what used to happen is in my groups I could post some type of promo with an affiliate, and I could easily put up the title, the description, and have a link. And then with the changing of the algorithms, primarily on Facebook, any type of lingo, I guess, any type of sales lingo or terminology will get your post, somewhat invisibly flagged, and I believe that the viewership gets really reduced. So that's been very frustrating for me. So as an example, where I could, with even like one affiliate, I could on the average make $400 to $500 a month. If I make 100 a month, that's good nowadays. Um, so you have to kind of get more creative about it. And so for me, I will pin post something that I'm promoting in the top of my group, but yet I will just have kind of like a description and then say details in the comments below. And that's where I'll put the link so that it doesn't get kind of flagged by Facebook and then, um, limited in the viewership.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a great way to promote your affiliate links. I think even Adobe Express is launching or is has an affiliate program as well, and so they're
Correct.
definitely thinking that through. For the folks out there, I think it's not uncommon for a lot of creators to have some type of community, whether it's Facebook groups or Discord or something. How have you built this group to the size that it is? Is there a system that you practice? Is there like practices each week that you do, like very
Sure.
steady? What's some advice there?
Yeah, originally, I'd started the group in 2010. I think there was like a Facebook announcement about changes coming to groups. And I was like, oh, great. Because I originally was a co-manager of the LA Photoshop user group. And then when 2010 came around, they had this announcement. I was like, oh, that's exciting. So maybe I'll put some energy into an online group. And so when I first created the group, my intention was to balance it between people in the industry who had a lot to share and teach and people who wanted to learn. So I thought that would be a good balance. And I had, become friends with people in the Adobe world and photography world by running the meetings in LA. And so I could kind of ask them if they wanted to present. And I believe I started with, um, was it Adobe Connect? I think it was. So I started with Adobe Connect doing live events, and they would present. And then in time, the group kept getting bigger and bigger. And so, to be honest, well, there were two factors that changed things. One is, to be honest, a simple mistake can go a long way on Facebook. And I think what it was there was a year that it was around Halloween, and I was sharing like a Halloween contest from my group to another group, and I realized there was no kind of engagement in the other group. So I went to delete it from the other group, and somehow it removed me from my own Photoshop and Lightroom group, which at the time had 446,000 members. So it
It's not
removed
good.
me. And then, so if you get removed or you remove yourself by
Yeah.
mistake, and
Uh-huh.
it didn't like, nothing came up and said, hey, do you know what you're about to do? It's
Right,
like,
right.
this is
No
not a
warning.
simple, yeah, it wasn't, it should have been a big warning. Like, you are about to remove yourself as the creator, owner of the group. Nothing like that. I just got removed. And then, so what happened is I lost my creator status. And I was concerned that, if any of the moderators were to go rogue, they could remove me because I would just be a general admin after that point. And I couldn't really protect the group. So I think of debating about it with some of the other admins, I think after about a year, half a year to a year later, I decided to just create another group. So I created another group a couple years ago, and that group has now grown to 309,000 members. So it's still doing pretty good, and I think it's. And you ask like why or how does a group succeed? I would say that dedication, just like anything else, like if you are a rock guitarist and you dedicate to practicing every day and you play with your group and you put out the albums and you go on and do like live tours, it's the dedication that will always kind of pay off. And for me, that dedication is moderating the group daily, even when I'm not in the mood. And I've been doing that since 2010. So almost every single day, like it or not, I moderate the groups, but I do like it. And there's a lot of great creative Photoshop artists and great photographers. So I see a lot of really great inspiration, really great ideas. And me and my moderators just try to keep everything in line and in tune with it being helpful. So we always want it to be a very helpful group. And that's kind of like the philosophy of the group. And then in time, I do have to give credit. Facebook has had some really great admin tools come up. So there's like post approvals. So in the past, there was a time where spammers could come in and post like porn and just flood the group, and we'd have to kind of frantically go in and delete everything. Now, post approval makes it so nothing gets in the group unless we give them post approval because we trust them. Nowadays, we have to review it and then approve or decline. So that's been a big help. And then there's other ones, but on the flip side, one thing that's becoming a bit of a problem is Facebook is so large that bots do a lot of the work. And a problem that's happening in my group, and I would suspect in other photography groups, is there is a mistake that they're making, which is the word shoot or shot is being taken out of context, and you will get a flag saying you've got a violation for, violent comment. And so I've had to contact them and say, you're taking it out of context. Shoot and shot is a very common word in photography for the act of photography. So I've asked them to be able to give us the ability to whitelist certain words so we don't get this kind of silly thing happening all the time. So I don't know if they'll do anything about it, but it just seems kind of foolish going into the year 2023 and them not have that kind of ability to protect your group from false flags. So
Yeah, hopefully they'll fix that. I mean, there's so much, different languages and variations and intonations and stuff, but, it seems like you guys are very
exactly.
active. It sounds like you also have moderators in the group, which is the key. Like, it's hard to maintain over 300,000, conversations and relationships and things. And so that's fantastic.
So a little
Um,
shout out, thank you to the moderators and admins who
that's
help
right.
me day to day. Thank you very much.
Yeah, they make it happen. Absolutely. No, that's really important. Yeah, I mean, this is like, you're, building a community is not easy. It doesn't happen overnight, but what you've done here is really fantastic. I like the way that you've always, I think you've mentioned the word protecting your community a couple of
Yep.
times already in this conversation. So I'd love for you to expand on that, for the creators out there that are building communities, paid or free.
Right.
What is that? What does protecting mean? What does that mean for them? Protecting them from each other, from, what does that mean to you?
Maybe a mix of all that. So yeah, the main thing is, I have a kind of goal or a philosophy for the group, and I always want it to be very, very, for people to interrelate with each other in a nice way and to always be focused on being helpful. So, not only do we have, general moderators and admins that go through the group and get rid of mean and nasty comments, or we, decline posts that seem like they might be derogatory or, prejudice or anything like that, which we have no tolerance for. We do have some what I would call like stealth moderators. We have a few moderators who remove comments, but they're not like publicly. Um, I think they might still be tagged as a moderator, but they still kind of stay under the radar and just kind of help the group that way, which I think is great. And a big way that I would say that is keep a big group successful is if you get a range of people from different time zones too. So, like while I'm sleeping in California, I can have a crew of my friends who are in the UK moderating the group. And so I don't wake up in the morning in a frantic, you know, run to kind of clean things up.
Yeah,
So
that's good. That's good.
that's
What
good.
what have Andrew? What is the incentive for, for the folks out there that are thinking about bringing on moderators? What's the incentive for a moderator? Because I think I'm not sure, how you guys do it, but I sometimes I find that it's not really actually monetary.
Right. So
So yeah, for the folks out there that have a group, it's growing, but maybe they don't have a budget to pay moderators. What's some things that you guys have
correct.
done?
Yeah, it's a selfless kind of thing. So it's a selfless thing to do, and a lot of times the people throughout the years who have been moderators or admins um, have just a true desire to do it because they love and respect the group. So the fact that the group has a lot of great artists, and we've had contests, and we have all these live events all the time, live video events. I think they just feel connected to it, and they want to kind of show their gratitude by helping out in that way as well. When I can get certain perks, I will send them to my moderators, especially ones who are dedicated. Um, and there's been different groupings throughout this 12-year span. So I have seen where there's very helpful moderators, and I've seen moderators who do start arguments with other moderators, and there's been that kind of drama a bit.
Yeah, I bet,
um,
I bet. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, it is a selfless thing for sure. But that makes a lot of sense. I like that you share perks that you get because I'm sure being sort of the face of the group and being,
you know,
out there in the community and rubbing elbows with the people at Adobe and stuff. I'm sure there's some perks that are thrown your way, so that's great.
yeah,
Um,
and I was going to say I'm friends with a lot of people in the Adobe world, so
yeah,
that
yeah.
means that I can reach out, and I've had like Paul Tranny, who's an evangelist, do live presentations for my group, and I've had Jesus Ramirez from the Photoshop Training Channel, Colin Smith from Photoshop Cafe, um, A lot of great people. I
Yeah.
keep asking Terry White, the evangelist, but he's always so busy that it's hard to schedule him.
Terry, if
But
you're listening, Terry, come on.
Terry, come
Yeah,
on.
let's make it happen here. No, that's great. That's great. I want to shift a little bit to some of your
Sure.
other business streams here. So you do, photo retouching. You said you do training as
Tutoring.
well. So is the training one on one or one to small groups or one to many or on demand? What does that look like?
Sure. Right. So before the pandemic, I tended to go to like home offices or design studios and do one-on-ones. But I am also open to, groups. So I have done small groups in different companies, corporations. Um, I do prefer pretty much doing small groups or one-on-one. And the truth is, when the pandemic happened, was it 3 years now? Um, I was a little hesitant at first about online, and I wasn't the biggest. I had done live events, but I was more like a voice, and I didn't do like the video presence so much. But I pretty much embraced it, and I got a better webcam and a microphone, and because of my wife, thankfully, I got a better background. So I have a nice little bookshelf here with the lights and the pillows, and
That's
so
there's
it's a lot
definitely a
better looking than.
woman's touch, right? Woman's touch
Yeah, it used to
never
just be a
hurts.
big open room with like the carpet and just like, you know,
That's great. That's
so
great.
it's a lot better. But yeah, I really enjoy it now. And so, a lot of times I prefer to do like online tutoring or lessons rather than in person because I don't have to travel. There's no travel expense. I don't have to look, for parking or anything like that, or you take an Uber or Lyft. Um, you know, Uber and Lyft, I realized during Adobe Max, it took a lot. Wow, those prices can shift a
They
lot.
can,
It's like the
right?
same time on a different day can go from $20 to like $40. I'm like,
I
wow, that's
know.
strange.
I know. I was like, whoa, that much from the airport. But okay, I have no
But
other
yeah, so
choice.
so I think that the blessing of the pandemic, if you can say that, is the fact that uh, if you embrace doing online stuff like this, you can make it really work for you. So you can really get a lot more done. So if I'm not traveling, I could do like 3 online tutoring sessions in one day, whereas traveling, I might be like I can only do 2. I just can't. I don't have the time to get here and there. Um, and I like working online. I also like working at home. So if I'm doing the photo compositing, retouching work, and then I just send it via, say, like WeTransfer, I like doing that. I mean, Dropbox is fine, but it seems a little bit slower. I have my likes and dislikes for things in the industry. um, but
That
any
works though.
any kind of specific questions about
No, no,
the
no. That
work I do?
that's fantastic. I think that's you're right. It's kind of weird thing to say. The blessing of the pandemic or the silver lining, I think, is
Right,
that
silver lining, yeah.
people really realize like, hey, I could do so much more online. And then on the other end, people that are paying for training and stuff, they, hey, you know what? It's okay. Like, it works. I retain information. I do learn and get value, even if it's done online. And so everybody wins. And then if you want to go out and meet people in person, then yeah, go to the conferences, go to the to the events that you really want to. But it's just opened up the whole world. I think I talked to a lot of creators, and they're like, man, my market has just like wide open now. It's no more local. It's not just local
Right,
now. It's like
absolutely.
anybody on the internet with Wi-Fi.
And I love the fact that once you do like a live event, and it can be very informative, and it can also be very playful and fun, silly at times. Um, you have the recording link, so you can share that, and people can watch it. And like, so they didn't have time to take notes, they can go back and study and get some good points from it. And someone might even see it like years from now and get something from it. So I really love the fact that there's a recording available for people to take it in again and again.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I want to ask you about you've been in this game for a long time. Um, for the folks out there,
I'm
for
not
the
that old now. What
yeah,
do you say?
not in a bad way. I mean, it's actually just like
No, no, I'm sorry.
I really commend. Yeah, I mean, I really
I'm
commend
kidding
you in
here.
like I really commend you in like really building a community over years and being a master of a specific craft, a specific set of platforms. I think it's like really commendable and really shows to your dedication. I'm curious, like in the early years, was that, or maybe this is just the type of person you are, like were you
Right.
like, I'm gonna go all in on Photoshop, Lightroom, like that is gonna be what I build my career business around? Was there ever any moments in the in you know during that journey where you're like, hey, maybe this is, I mean, this is not a, not the hill I want to plant my flag on, like,
Sure.
yeah.
So yeah. So I mean, I learned, school of visual arts, computer graphics, fell in love with Photoshop, built my portfolio, got into advertising, worked for design studios as well, moved from New York to San Francisco, caught the last year of dot-com boom, and then did tutoring and retouching, and then moved to LA for even bigger kind of possibilities, which was great because almost immediately I ended up, um, I don't know if it was immediately, but maybe only a couple years being here, I ended up getting a really great job where I was working on these wonderful black and white photos of Beverly Hills that I ended up retouching and getting ready for this great book by Robert Anderson, Beverly Hills Hotel, the First 100 Years. Big coffee table book. I think I have it behind me. And then City of Beverly Hills found it, and then they wanted to make a book for the City of Beverly Hills, the Beverly Hills First 100 Years for their centennial. Um, but the thing is, before that, there was times where I did do InDesign work, and I even got like work through, say, creative temp agencies. And I remember a scenario, and I won't name any names, companies, but I remember a scenario where I was a freelancer with a bunch of other people in this one studio, and I was doing little tweaks for InDesign, and then for some reason, I don't know why, because I don't think I stood out from the other people, but they decided to promote me, and they brought me up to this, other floor where you're more kind of hands-on and surrounded by the supervisors. And they wanted me to, basically track and kern little tweaks, and you'd have to write down like the precise amounts that you tracked and kern little things and print it out. And that's basically what you would do all the time, and I hated it. I was basically a Photoshop guy that like was doing some InDesign stuff to just trying to feel it out, um, and I love InDesign, but I just hated that kind of work. And so I did like the absolute taboo thing. After like I think a couple days of doing that, I went up to the supervisor and I said, "Do we really have to do this?" And like all of a sudden, like I think I got a call on my phone, and it was the creative agency to tell me to pick up my stuff.
That was it. That was the
In a day
last
or
day
two.
you saw Andrew.
And that's when I realized, yeah, you know what, you really love Photoshop. And then,
Yeah.
as Lightroom came out, I fell in love with Lightroom.
Hmm.
Um, if that's what you're good at, that's what your
It
love is,
is.
then focus
Yeah.
on that and don't be kind of diverted to other
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, Adobe is not a little startup anyway.
Right.
You're it's quite secure, and so there's really no worries of like, hey, what if Photoshop goes away tomorrow? That's never gonna happen. Knock on wood.
Right. And I do like new
Um,
introductions like Adobe Express, which,
yeah, 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 yeah. Of
as you
course.
know, makes it so easy for people to
Yeah,
template based designs. Everything's very at your fingertips.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
well, shout out to Adobe Express. It's coming along
Absolutely.
great.
Yeah, absolutely. Emily and Liz and the whole gang over there is just fantastic.
And I was going to say, how about the amazing, not just Adobe Express, but the amazing AI that's coming to
Oh
Adobe. I
man,
mean,
so
that's some
crazy.
pretty cool stuff. Yeah.
Say so crazy. I mean, all that Sensei stuff that they're gonna be doing, all of that, like, yeah, the Adobe Sneaks was like next
Yep.
level stuff. I was like, I can't believe you can do that even, like, and it
Yeah, it's
wasn't.
pretty exciting
It
what's
is.
what's coming down the pike. I
It
mean, it's just so
is.
many.
It is. I think it's like becoming more and more. I think this is one of the things in 2023 as we get into it. I think it's just gonna be easier, if that's the right word, to become a creator. Like,
Right.
that one guy sharing like how you can take a dancing video and take your picture, and then you become the dancing version of yourself of that video. Like, you don't even know how to dance, you just like, but you can now become that kind of a creator. It's like there's all these things now. It just makes it the entry level. There's no more barrier to entry. Like Adobe Express, for example, you can be a graphic designer or design nice graphics without being a professional graphic designer, right?
Right, or have a
And
design education.
or
Yeah.
design education. So now like it's wide open. If your knowledge is in something else, there's no barrier, or the barrier is getting less to then take that knowledge and package it, create content, build an audience online to then maybe create a community like you have, or create tutorials like you have, and monetize that knowledge, right? So it's exciting. I mean, Adobe's, doing a great job kind of taking the lead on that.
And, and the idea that, like, where you might have to go out to a stock site to find images for backgrounds for photo composites, you can now go to like an AI site and put in some text prompts and get a good background that you can add your own, photography or images to, and build from there.
Yeah, it's
There's
crazy.
just so many possibilities. I was at Adobe Max, and I think it was what's new in Photoshop, and I think it's the beta version, and Joel Bear from the Photoshop team was talking about the fact that you can now go to the neural filters, and there's a thing called backdrops, and there's a prompt area, and you can say, I want a background of, or I want a scene of, and you describe it and it generates it for you. And I thought, wow, that's really going to open it up for so many other things similar to that in the future. So, you know, hold on everybody, because AI
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
it's going to get big, and I think it'll get big in everything. Like it'll get big for audio, or it
Hmm.
already has. I think there's now some audio features for Adobe Express now
Yeah,
for
yeah,
AI.
yeah. Yeah, Adobe Express, Adobe Audio, or Adobe Podcast. I forget what it was called
That's right.
Express, but yeah, I'm starting to beta test that, and I got some access to it. They're doing so many cool things. I mean, yeah, it's exciting. It's really exciting. Yeah, like
And
yeah,
then another thing that
for the
I was just
beginners,
going to
but
say,
then also for
sorry.
the advanced, like from both ends, like across the spectrum of like whatever stage creator or knowledge level you are, they're doing some really exciting things there. So yeah, um,
Right.
fantastic.
And I was going to say another great feature about the AI is you could go to a site and you could put in some prompts and it can create a series for you, and you might not even use that to show and say this is my art or anything, but you could use it as kind of like a board for inspiration for doing a true in-person photo shoot. So it can give you like ideas, or if you're an illustrator, it can give you ideas for a series that you can work on. So it really will be a great way of kind of breaking through any kind of mental barriers or blocks you have, to give you new ideas and inspiration.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited for the future of that. It's going to be a really fine line. We're going to get to a point where the AI can do a lot of the work, and it's like how much of
Yeah.
it is. But I think there's always going to be a human element, of course, that's going to be part of it. So yeah, that's going to be exciting though. I wanna kind of shift a little bit to
Yep.
as we wrap up here, because I realized I looked up the time, Andrew, and I always do this every
Goes
interview. I'm like, can I get 15 minutes of your time, and then we're like here for like an hour. But I would love to know. I've been thinking about this for a while. Like, what is one skill that you wish creators had? Like one thing that you think is that you feel is like kind of lacking in a lot of creators. Not in like man, you guys are really bad, but like just something that they would learn to be successful in creating a business behind their content.
Right. So a general critique I have about, I guess, new creators,
Yeah.
compared to like where I came from in the '90s. Um, in the '90s, we put a lot of work into this. So, I mean, I told you I got good at Photoshop by reading Deke McClellan's Photoshop Bible, which was like 600 or 900 pages. And I read it like 3 times through and built up my portfolio. Um,
Wow.
so that you know, the beauty of our times now is things are more simple and easy to do, and, instant. But the bad side of that is do we have the patience to do some very, advanced work or detailed work? So I like both worlds. I like to be able to concentrate and do very detailed work, and I have the patience for it. Um, but I also do like to embrace the AI and simple ways of doing things like Adobe Express. But that's my one critique that I do somewhat feel about the younger generation is sometimes I think they want everything to be kind of instant and easy. And there is a beauty about honing your skills and being disciplined to take the time to make something really um, advanced or beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. There is nothing that, especially if it's art, your craft. Yeah, but you're right though. I think I have kids, and that attention span, that patience is
Yeah,
something that
it's
I mean,
changed. It's
yeah,
changed a bit.
it's changed. It's changed. They yeah. So yeah, no, that's a good call out. Be patient out there, creators. Be patient. Build it one
Yeah,
customer or
hone
client at a
hone your
time.
skills, develop your skills. Don't expect that everything should just be kind of like a one button quick kind of solution.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. There was one of the speakers, the keynotes there. He did say, "Master your craft, like master your craft, whatever that craft is." Yeah. So, and that's clearly you have done that and led by example to do that, Andrew. I'm really glad that we
thanks.
finally got to connect. Where is the best place? Because you have Instagram and YouTube and your website. What's the best place to connect with you and just kind of learn more about what you're doing and maybe join your community as well?
Right. So should I talk about my own personal links, or should I talk
Yeah,
about the
yeah, yeah,
group?
yeah. Your links, yeah, for sure.
Okay. So let's see. I got my little list
Anywhere
here.
people can. I mean, I will have the your specific links in the in the show notes and
Great.
everything.
Great.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, my general website is photoshopandphotography.com. There's digital art there, some examples for my retouching, compositing, some information about my tutoring. And if anyone's interested, I do recommendations for anything from Amazon tech and camera gear to a bunch of recommendations for my affiliates related to Photoshop and photography. So courses, presets, things like that. Um, YouTube, on YouTube, I'm at Digital Art Drew. So please subscribe if you're interested. Lots of great live events, recordings, um, help boost my watch time hours. So feel free to watch all the hour long or longer videos. But that's Digital Art Drew. A lot of great stuff, though. A lot of great presenters in the industry. For my digital art on Instagram, I'm at Instagram as Digital Artist Drew. I also have a Facebook business page, Digital Artist Drew. Um, where's my Behance? Let me check over here. Links. Behance.net/DrewCav, KAV. And then in terms of the groups, there is the Photoshop and Lightroom group. So you could either just go up and search when you get to Facebook, or facebook.com/groups/Photoshop Lightroom group. 12 years old with 309,000 members now, I believe. There's the digital art and AI art group. So it used to be a digital art group, and I've now embraced AI art to try to be more open minded about it. Um, I see some really great stuff. So there's a mix that is facebook.com/groups, the digital art group. I also help run the Photoshop and photography group, which is facebook.com/groups, Photoshop and photography group. And to let my hair down, as we would say, I wanted to create a group that is just a bit more kind of crazy. So I created the Strange and Surreal Art Group. So facebook.com/groups, Strange Surreal Art. That's got almost 11,000 members. And just like the name implies, it's a lot of strange and surreal art. Um, just keep it clean, people. Don't get too crazy, but it's a bit more kind of experimental and expressive. But I think that's a pretty good
Cool. I love
range.
that. I love
Yeah,
that. Yeah, we will have the links to all of that in the show notes of the podcast. Or if you're catching this on YouTube or Instagram, it'll be in the captions in the descriptions.
appreciate it.
Yeah, Andrew, fantastic. I'm really glad that we finally got to connect. I really do hope
That's
we will make sure that there's we'll hang out next year at Adobe Max. And yeah, glad to have you here. You're welcome to come back anytime if there's anything else you want to share. You know, as new things come up in the you know, in this side of the world of AI art and
Right.
Photoshop and Adobe, you're the person to bring on. So definitely
Yeah.
need you to come back
Great.
very soon. All right. So thanks for your
Great.
time, Andrew. We'll talk soon.
Thank you so much.